Hey, what's going on? We are Yonke, and today we're going to be working on this 2016 Z71 single cab short bed. And the front passenger side rotor is completely gone, so we will be replacing all 4 rotors and all the brake pads with stuff from R1 Concept. And we will also be flushing out the old brake fluid and putting some new brake fluid in. So we're gonna start off by checking up the car, removing these wheels, and I think that rotor went out due to these big ass 37s. So hopefully the new stuff holds up a little better than these stock rotors. I forgot to remove the old brake fluid first, so we're gonna do that right now. And this was actually a little low. We just got back from AutoZone. We picked up some brake cleaner to spray down the rotors and some .3 brake fluid and some new brake lubricant because this one's all gone. So we're going to put some brake fluid in the master and then start removing the brake caliper bracket. We're gonna start removing the caliper, so we're gonna hold this bolt with the 13/16 and the outer bolt with the 13mm. Okay, so now that we have the caliper off, we have to remove these 2 bolts right here. They are 18mm, and that's what holds up bracket in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and break these loose. You might need a big breaker part because they are pretty tight. Let me go ahead and remove those and I'll put you guys back on. Okay, so we got the bottom bolt out. Now this top bolt should release the brake caliper bracket. And these are the brake pads. I'm gonna put these bolts back on here, and we're gonna clean them up with the wire wheel before we put them back on, and put some blue Loctite on all these bolts. And we have to remove these copper washers. I guess they're from factory. And make sure your parking brake is not on, or else this rotor is not gonna come off. Let me get something to remove this, and we'll go ahead and remove the rotor. Came off pretty easy. So all this rust, we're just gonna hit it with the wire brush and put some anti-seize all around, and then we'll slide the new rotor on. Okay, so this is what we got from R1 Concept. I think these are the front rotors because the hat is pretty small. So that's the part number. We got 2 of these, and then we got 2 of these. And we got the little brackets that go on the calipers, and these are the brake pads. So the front brake pads are the bigger ones, and the smaller ones are those for the rear. So I'm gonna open this up, show you guys real quick. And this is the same setup that we're running on the Jeep SRT8. And to be honest, they're super dusty. Like, they get the rims really dirty real fast. This is what they look like. Now it's time to put the caliper bracket back together. And we're gonna remove the old brake pads. Just remember the way they sit in here, so you won't get them confused on the new pads. So look, the ones on the inside don't have anything right here because this is where the piston sits. The ones on the outside have these little nipples. Just remember that. And then yeah, pop these out. And hit it with the hammer a little bit, and remove these little metal pieces. We're gonna hit this with the wire brush and then put the new ones on. And actually, before we mount the caliper bracket, we're gonna remove this and clean them up. So just pop them out. We're also gonna hit the bolts with the wire brush to get the old thread locker off. For these pins, we're gonna wipe the old grease off. And clean them up with a little bit of brake cleaner. We'll put some new grease and then slide them back in the caliper bracket. They should be good to go. Just make sure you get the grease all over the pin. Alright, so we're gonna torque the caliper bracket bolts to 148. We're gonna apply some blue thread locker on them. Now we are ready to put the caliper back on, but we have to press in the piston. So, oh no, actually, you know what? We're gonna put these clips back in. So we got the new ones. And they just slide in. These little brake pads. So basically it's going to be a set like this, and just remember the outside brake pad has these little nipples, the inside brake pad doesn't. There you go, and put the inside. Now we're ready to do the caliper. What we like to do is we like to put a brake pad on the piston and then put the tool between the brake pad and the caliper so it spaces it out a little more instead of turning this all the way in. So now we're gonna start turning this. Once the piston is completely flat with the caliper, then we know we're good. So let me go ahead and do this, and then we'll mount the caliper onto the bracket. Okay, so we got the caliper torqued. These two mounting bolts go to 38 foot-pounds, and the two bigger ones back here, the 18mm ones, go to 148 or something like that. And we got our hose hooked up to the bleeder screw, and we got it to this little Gatorade bottle, which we're gonna fill up to like about there with clean brake fluid. We're gonna turn on the truck and then pump it until clear brake fluid comes out. You can see how dirty the old brake fluid was. We got some new brake fluid in there. Now we're gonna start doing the rear driver side brakes. That's it for the rear passenger side. We're not gonna record that just because it's exactly the same thing as this side. So we'll put you guys back on once we're in the front passenger side. Back now, the front, we were rotating the wheels. I don't know if you guys can see, but that lug nut broke. So this is gonna be the last wheel we're gonna do either way. But what we did is we put this front wheel back there, and then the passenger side back here, and then the one in the back was supposed to go up here, and then the one in the back on the passenger side was supposed to go in the front. So we're gonna do it with this afterwards, but right now we're gonna do the passenger side. So this is the side that was bad, and as you can see, this whole thing is messed up. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna remove the caliper. These are both 19mm, the inner one and the outer bolt. We loosened those up already. And the caliper could come off, and we're gonna hang it off to the side for a bit. There. You can see that the brake pad is completely gone. Yeah, it's just like gone. The inner brake pad is also pretty worn down. Now let me get to these 18mm caliper bracket bolts. Alright, so right here on the rotor, it has a Torx screw, and it's a T30. So we're gonna remove that. Shit, I think I should have done it with the caliper bracket on. See if I can get this to lock in place while I motherfucker. It's kind of tight. The rotor pulls right off. So we're gonna get rid of that rotor. Now we're gonna put the new R1 Concept rotor, and you can see where the bolt goes on this. So we might put some anti-seize right there, and it's a T30. And we're also going to clean this up and put a little bit of anti-seize on this, so you know, it won't grab onto the new rotor. Alright, so I put some anti-seize on the hub. And I forgot to mention for the rears, but for the front and rear, on the box on next to the part number, it has an R for right side and L for left side. So this is for the front right. Pull out the hub and spray with some brakes in there to get the coating off. And just line up the one for the you know, that little screw. Line it up. put some new grease on these. These caliper bracket bolts are torqued to 170 foot-pounds. Put these little clips back on. Alright, so for the front brake pads, they are different. The ones that are inside have this. The ones that are outside don't have it. And the ones inside also have this little metal piece, and the outside one doesn't. So this one goes in here. Oh, shit. And this one goes out here. Okay, now we're gonna put the caliper back on. And for the caliper bolts, these go to 74 foot-pounds. Kind of seems like a lot, but I guess that's what they go for. And we're also gonna bleed this front caliper as well. Put it on like this. Let me get to torquing these bolts down. Now we're done with the R1 concept rotor and brake pads. So we did rear passenger, then we went over to the rear driver, then front passenger. Now we're gonna finish off with the front driver, and we just did it like that because we were trying to bleed out our brakes, get some of the old brake fluid. We have a little problem over there with one of the lug nuts that broke off. So we're gonna fix that and do that side. But for the rest of the truck is done. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at @yonke_oxcfilms. I'll leave that in the description down below. And we'll catch you in the next one.